Achoo! Moo? Boo! No, don't worry, I've not travelled through a creaky door, sneezed at all the dust before blowing a trumpet, confusing a cow and making the crowd angry. I only do that sort of thing on a Saturday. I was just playing Uproar, the very funny game of silly sounds from Macmillan. It's a super simple but incredibly fun play, suitable for anyone of any age at all, as long as you can read, match words, and most importantly, make amazing noises like surprised cat, meow, or bubbles, or twit twoo. Can you guess what that was? Yeah, that's right, a sad owl. Twit twoo. Oh wait, that wasn't me that time. I am a sad owl. Oh no, why are you sad? Because I'd like to have a go at funny noises too. Oh, okay, go on then. If you go to macmillan.fun and use the code CC4K, you'll get a fancy 10% off the brilliant Uproar game. What sound effect was that? Rubbish podcast host. Oh. As the sad owl, who is rubbish at sound effects, says, head to macmillan.fun and have a look at any of their brilliant, very funny games, including the wonderful Uproar. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can use the code CC4K to get a whole 10% off. Woohoo! I'm a happy owl now. You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. And welcome to Radio Nonsense, the Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from to and everything in between. I did mean to start the show with a hello, that's what I normally do, but then I thought, hey, maybe I should try falling into the podcast today. Turns out, it's not that great, but there is a chance that I didn't do it properly. It's always important to try things a few times before you give up, isn't it? It's like the little spider taught Robert the Bruce, eating flies gets very samey unless you add a lot of sauce. No, wait, hang on. That wasn't what it said. It taught him that it's hard to find pants that fit when you need to fire webs from your bum. No, wait, hang on. That wasn't it either. What's it? Try, and try again. That's it. That's what the spider said to Robert the Bruce. So, attempt number 1, I just sort of fell off my chair into the podcast, which wasn't really enough, I think. This time, I'm going to climb up this conveniently placed ladder and then give it a go. Why is there a ladder here? That's a good question. Linda, is this your ladder, Linda? Linda? Where is Linda? Who is Linda? Oh, wait, it's only safe to climb up a ladder if someone's holding the bottom of the ladder. But as I'm the only person here, I'm going to have to hold the ladder for myself. Hang on, what if I hold it really quickly while going up it quickly, and then maybe I could do both so fast that I'm kind of holding it and climbing it at the same time? No, I'm not really fast enough to do that. I know. What if I hold the ladder and all the farting animals climb it and they fall into the podcast? Yes! Okay, everyone, up you go. Careful now. Yes, even you, farting eagle, who could just fly up, but it's cheating. Okay, right. Okay, is that everyone? Yeah, great. Now, on the count of 3, all of you need to fall into this podcast, please. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was horrible. I think I definitely have to be the one falling, otherwise it doesn't really work, and now I just have a pile of squished farting animals. Right, I'm going to think of more ideas, but while I do that, do you know what else has fallen into the podcast this week? That's right, all your emails and reviews. Thank you this week to Zavi99, who gave us a very nice review saying that they are enjoying listening to this show, which is very nice. But then at the end they say, please watch this and subscribe. Well, I mean, definitely subscribe, but how do you watch this? It's an audio podcast. Wait, Zavi, are you hiding in CC4KHQ spying on me? And if so, could you hold this ladder, please, so I could climb it? Zavi? Well, unless they were here and then they popped out with Linda. It's a shame. I really need help with this ladder. I've also had some brilliant entries to the Uproar competition this week. You might remember that every week for some weeks, I am giving away copies of Uproar, a brilliantly fun game of silly sounds made by Macmillan. And all you have to do to win one is send in the sounds that I ask for. So, in the last few weeks, I've asked for your impressions, and these are from the game, of angry whispering, a video game, and a toddler tantrum. And Rupert, who is half of 14 plus 1 years old, he has kindly sent in his versions of all three of those. So, in order, here is Rupert's angry whisper. Here is Rupert's video game impression. And he kindly explained that that is Mario Kart, as they're all smacking each other with red shells. And I'm really pleased he explained that, as I wasn't sure if it was like a Mario Kart style game or, you know, a game about a really annoyed cat. It's hard to tell, but it was very good. And here is his excellent toddler tantrum. Wow, that toddler is super annoyed. Possibly more annoyed than the cat from the video. Oh, wasn't it? Anyway. So, thanks so much, Rupert. These are brilliant impressions indeed. And then I also got these from Finnegan, who is 7 years old. And he sent in his impressions of an angry whisper.
Hello, Tiernan. I'm Finnegan. And I'm going to make a sound of an angry whisper.
And then his video game sound.
Hello, Tiernan. I'm Finnegan, and I'm going to make a sound of a video game. Whoop.
I have to say, Finnegan, those are not only great impressions, but I really love that you spent more time introducing them than on the actual sounds themselves. Quality, not quantity, as they say. Is that what the spider said to Robert the Bruce? Well, I'm not sure, but minimalist impressions are all very good with me. They were brilliant whispers and indeed video game noises. So both of you, Rupert and Finnegan, will get a game of Uproar, and that will get sent out to you ASAP. But I had 3 games to give away for those sounds, because there was 3 sounds. So there's still 1 left. So if any of the rest of you would like to submit your impression of a toddler tantrum or even an angry whisper or video game, then one of you will win a game for that. And this week I'd also like someone to send in the noise of, let me just shuffle my Uproar card deck here, a saxophone. So get your impossible guff wafters, grown-ups, to help you record your impression of a saxophone or any of the previous sounds and email those into podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk and you could win a game from Miller.fun too. Also, Zoya and Tess, who've emailed in before, they wanted to send me their own made-up expletives, if you remember from a few episodes ago. So here you go. Here are their made-up rude words.
Oh, radio nonsense! It's happened again! Oh, soggy bottoms!
Wowzers, those are excellent made-up rude words, and I do hope now all the rest of you listeners, next time you stub your toe or something goes horribly wrong, you all shout, "Oh, radio nonsense, it's happened again." Don't forget, if you want to send in anything, really, but especially impressions, your own made-up exclamatory terms, or most importantly, questions that you need to have answered on this show, do get those impossible guff wafters, grown-ups, to help you drop us a line. I also wanted to say a really big thank you to everyone who came to see us at the Edinburgh Fringe shows. We'll still have a few left up there when you hear this. I won't be there, but there's some absolutely fantastic acts on at them. Also, big thanks especially to the boy who came up after one of the shows I was on and just said, "Thank you, Widget." And I didn't know what he meant by that, but I very much appreciated it. Also, everyone who came to Comedy Club for Kids at Camp Festival Shropshire last weekend too, that was brilliant fun. And, do come and say hello if you see any of our live shows. If you come along and you want to say hello afterwards, please do. We're normally hanging around somewhere in the foyer afterwards, or in the festival. I was just mostly queuing for something like some very expensive macaroni cheese. But anyway, you can find our live shows at comedyclub4kids.co.uk. But most importantly, don't forget, we are doing a special live radio nonsense show at the South Bank Centre in London on October the 26th. So that's during half term for those of you in England, and for the rest of you, it might not be during your half term. So just leave school. Just say you're going on important business and you have to fly around the world to ask very silly questions at Radio Nonsense Live. It's going to be me, Athena Kugblenu, Jos Norris, and possibly Linda, maybe Linda, who knows? We will all be taking your questions live. I have popped the link in the podcast blurb again too. Right, okay, so that's my to-do list to done, well, except for the second and third falling test, so I still don't really know if falling into a podcast works. Zavi, can you hold the ladder, please? Zavi? Still not here. Linda, could you do it then? Ah, right, okay, let me work this out while you all listen to the most importantest bit.
Food, jobs, and pets.
I am very excited to be joined on this week's Radio Nonsense by Charlie George, aka Chad Geo, aka Charlie with her renowned collection of historic barley, and of course to our listeners who speak Hausa, Wanda Yasan Yada, aka Taya de Lamas. But of course, many will know you for being the International Clothes Horse Racing Champion from 2001 to 2022, for your smash hit song where you didn't sing anything as you thought no one was paying attention, and for your pioneering research work into why flies can walk but walks can't fly. Charlie, it's so lovely to have you on the show. How are you?
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm like here with a stack of some of my favourite clothes horses. I brought them along just so that they could be here. Some of my champions, the ones that I've really raced very fast with. Collapsible ones, obviously the most fun.
I mean, you know what? I didn't want to. It's funny because we get guests on the show like yourself who've just got this incredible CV of most remarkable things you've done, and I don't like to pressure them into kind of doing the things that they're famous for. But then, like, to see that selection of clothes horses around you, I mean, honestly, it brings tears to my eyes. That is amazing. What's the one to the left? What's the one to the left of you, the largest one?
Well, this one, it operates on a pulley system. It's great for holding pants and socks. I basically balance that on my head whilst running and then pulling the pulley at the same time with both my arms. So it's kind of like an arm workout, socks going up and down as I run.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because, horse racing, you sit on the horse, but you showed the clothes horse racing pundits that actually it's easier if you put the clothes horse on your head.
Exactly. And I find that briefs, boxer shorts, it's stuff that works as a very good windscreen wiper for the sweat that accumulates as you are running within a closed racehorse, do you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, that's the sort of expertise that I'm so grateful that we can have on this show. Can I ask, I mean, this might be a really silly question, but you've got many different clothes horses there for many different occasions. Do you give them all names, or how do you make sure you know which one is which? Well, I like to order them in sort of colorways, really. So this one's like my multicolored one, then I've got my wooden pulley one. Obviously sometimes I do name them if I get really fond of them. This one's called Steve. Classic
great name,
foldable, sort of Corsatina style Steve,
Corsatina style Steve. I mean, I suppose that's the full name, isn't it? You gotta have nice formal full names for them, and that's lovely. That's a lovely name for a clothes horse. I sort of think it's quite sad people don't name their clothes horses more often. Actually,
Yeah, and then there's that's just the sound that one makes. So
That's great. Lovely. It's a lovely. I can I ask as well, because I'm aware of all your wins. I'm not aware of the kind of history behind it. Did you try racing like clotheslines, or did you try racing other sort of clothes like tumble dryers?
I did the old school style clothesline where how can I describe it? It's sort of like an umbrella for clothes, a metal umbrella. Very heavy, a lot of injuries. I had to train very hard for this one. You don't want something collapsing on you. That's just not what you want. Ended up having to use it as a javelin to defend myself in a pretty intense race in Wolverhampton.
Wow. I mean, that sounds. I'm guessing probably not suitable for a children's podcast to go into the detail on that one, because it just sounds quite violent. Yeah,
I mean, you think violent. I just sort of springed off the ground and actually hit me back in the face, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds,
Lots of pegs in my eyebrows. Plenty of pegs in the eyebrows from that one.
Wow. But then quite dried out your face quite quickly. If, were that an issue? If somebody had a very wet face, that might be quite a good thing to do.
Yeah, and it's always nice to, just get a nice expressive brow, isn't it? So, I felt like it helped me there.
Absolutely.
I looked a lot younger.
Well, I mean, all sorts of unexpected bonuses coming from this, which is amazing. And it's so lovely to have you on the show. Obviously, in between, I assume you're training for the 2023 races right now. I don't want you to have to give away if you've got any techniques. Obviously, you don't want to give your competitors an edge. But I'm guessing you're quite busy with all of that. And are you up to much else as well?
I'm doing a lot of closed horse hurdles at the moment, just racing
Right.
around my local parks and things. But other than that, I've mainly been burrowing in the ground to connect to rabbits.
Right, right. And what's is it rabbits in particular? Is it something about rabbits that you want to connect to them? Are you sort of shunning moles and earthworms?
I'm shunning moles and earthworms. I'm going for the rabbit. I've been obsessed with Bunny of the Week for a long time. Huge fan of Bunny of the Week.
Yeah.
One of my favourite things to follow. And I just think that their buoyancy and spring, that's what I'm trying to work on in my own training as a closed horse race champion. So I'm sort of trying to learn and connect with the rabbits at the moment. I would really like to be more springy, I guess, as a person. Hop
Yeah,
more
well,
distance.
who wouldn't be? It's all those things that would be easier, just sort of like reaching for things. If you could just sort of bounce up and grab them, that would be nice. Sort of dodging potholes, all sorts of uses to it. I'd have thought.
Yeah, great hearing. I'm already eating a lot of crudités in the summer, so it's kind of what's one large carrot and another stick of celery, really.
Yeah. That's the famous phrase, isn't it? That is the famous phrase. And is that what rabbits are communicating? Because like, I've tried to talk to a rabbit, and I'll be honest, it just sort of went, and I didn't get much from that. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe because I haven't quite tuned into rabbit chat. But I wondered if there is. Are you learning much about the rabbit community? Are you learning about their issues, their problems?
Yeah, you've really got to watch the nose. I think the nose is saying a lot. It's sort of like its code in terms of the pacing in which it's moving. I think what the rabbits are really struggling with at the moment is that moles are there's a rabbit mole fight going on. They're not happy with them at the moment. They're just sort of tunneling into their spaces.
Moles, come on.
I know.
Like, just what are they like? And they leave those little hills everywhere.
They can't see where they're going. That's the trouble, you see. They don't know where they're going.
No, which then does actually give me some sympathy. You're right, I should sympathise with moles. They don't know where they're going, but they're trying to get there anyway. Perhaps they need some sort of assistance. I don't know how you'd help a mole, but maybe rabbits should be guiding them.
That would be lovely. Like a rabbit guide for your mole.
Yeah.
I wonder if they would hop on the back or something. I don't know. I've seen some tiny little moles that might be able to do that, actually, get some lifts.
Yeah, but then you'd have to have bigger tunnels, and then I suppose the problem is always it's going to be the rabbits putting in the work, and what are the moles doing apart from making little hills? It's
little hills.
It can't just be a one-way thing, can it?
No, they've got to cooperate with each other, really.
Yeah.
But I think you could direct a rabbit quite well with its ears, maybe, if you were sat on top of it, couldn't you?
Maybe that is. Yeah, I mean that's a really good point, isn't it? Because it's sort of like a steering system.
Yeah, there's like a little gear stick. They remind me of a space hopper. The buoyant,
Yes.
like round, bouncy, when you hold on to the two bits at the top.
Yes, yeah. So it's just, I suppose for us, the problem is that most rabbits are too small for such a thing. But for smaller animals, they could use rabbits like space hoppers and get around. Which, yes, I don't know why they haven't really.
Yeah, it's sort of like it could be like a taxi service.
Yeah, sort of hop on, hop off, bus. Yeah, or hop on and then it hops
Hopper
on.
instead of Uber, Hopper, and then you just.
I like that.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that. It's a really nice idea.
I'll go and use my nose to communicate that to the rabbits when I next see them. Actually.
Yeah, do. I mean, I do. Again, I feel bad that we're sort of giving rabbits all the work here, but there are a lot of them, and I don't know what else they do all the time. So maybe it's a good vocation for them.
Well, I don't know if you've ever met a rabbit, but they are, they have moments of stillness, but they're very active. Like they love to be put to work. So actually, I think being really up for doing stuff and being busy.
Yeah, and there's that rabbit that's sort of famous for sort of batteries, and because they've always got energy, so he's always ready to sort of work and do things. I mean, do you know what? It totally makes sense. It's an area I hadn't even, much like closed horse racing, I hadn't even considered. I think until speaking to you today, and it's very exciting. Very exciting to know that this is going on. What's your ideal? Obviously, your ideal situation is to kind of gain skills like a rabbit. Would you then consider sort of some sort of superhero moniker to become like a kind of rabbit person, or maybe would you just sort of take over Easter Bunny duties?
I'd
once a
love to
year?
be a sort of rabbit person. I do find it's very uncomfortable to sit down on my bottom most of the time. So I think if I had some sort of fluffy, sort of donut style cushion attached to my rear, it would just make sitting. I could sit anywhere I want.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
run and then sit, run and then sit. You know, just drop to the floor. I wouldn't even have to think about it if I had that tail. So
That is good. Would you? I mean, look, this is quite. I'm worried about this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Rabbits do eat their own poo. Would you go that? I mean, because that's a bit much as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, the crudités I'm down for. I don't know how I'd feel about the poo. The rabbit poo, it's like sheep poo though, isn't it? It's like little
Yeah,
pellets
little round
dropping.
balls. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder
I
if
mean,
you
they
could
look
do
like Maltesers. I think that's why because the rabbits think, oh, it's a Malteser. Oh no, it really wasn't. Oh, I've really messed that up. Yeah.
Classic Malteser poo mix-up.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to do some pretty intense reverse psychology. You'd have to pretend that you were like eating something really, really nice. And chocolatey, like a minstrel or something like that, and pretend and try and get through it.
I mean, hopefully you just wouldn't have to, I'd hope that there wasn't anyone that was being so picky as to go, hey, superhero rabbit person, I don't see you eating your poos. Because, like, they don't do it with other, they don't demand Spider-Man shoots web from his bum. So, like, I'm just saying that hopefully you wouldn't have all the rabbit, like, demands.
It's quite an intense weakness, isn't it? Because some superheroes, their weakness is kryptonite, but to have your weakness is having to eat your own poo is quite...
Yeah.
It's a tough one. You might not make superhero friends because your breath will smell.
You wouldn't, but I think you also defeat a lot of baddies because they turn up and just go, no, that is horrible.
Yeah, that could be one of my powers, is I just breathe my pooey breath on people and they just collapse. They call me the poo breath bunny.
I see a future in cinema for this sort of. I mean, things would be over very quickly. These are my evil plans. Oh no! Oh, I'm gone. I'll go back home. I give up. Yeah. Wow. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so lovely to have you in between, as I said, these intense race training, the communicating with rabbits, the potential superhero future, and obviously, I've asked you here on this podcast because we've had a question sent in that I think you are the expert that can answer it. But before I ask you that question, I just need to do some admin. Just need to do a bit of podcast admin. The first of which is that I don't know if you're aware, but this is an audio podcast, and so most of our listeners will be listening to this with their ears. But as I say every week, if they listen to it with their bums or their knees, I don't mind. We don't discriminate. However they want to listen to it. So I just wondered if you'd got a favourite noise that you could either tell us about or preferably even make for us.
Well, my favourite noise is something that I do repeatedly a lot. It's the sound of a French woman stubbing her toe.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
I've got to get in character. Ooh la la!
Wow, that was amazing. I was instantly transported to Marseille and a very difficult paving stone. That was incredible.
Yeah. Ooh la la!
Wow. And is that, have you witnessed that before, or is that something you sort of imagined? Because it's very accurate.
Yeah, it is very accurate. Well, that's because the first time I've been to Paris on several occasions, and every time I've seen a French woman stub her toe. Wow.
Is it a problem round? You see, it's funny, isn't it? Because Paris is known for its beautiful architecture, its art galleries, its food, but is it also known for just really annoying things to stub your toe on?
This is the thing people don't talk about with the Eiffel Tower, is that it's very easy to miss, and so you can just
yeah.
You can just stub your toe. There's also like a large sort of windmill outside the Moulin Rouge. People stub their toe on that all the time. The Cheese Museum, Wheel of Brie, got this lady straight away. The wind went up her skirt, her foot slid out from under her. She was sliding all over the place.
Oh my goodness. And Notre Dame, obviously, quite easy, as you said, just to fall over it, stub your toe. I mean, you're right, actually, it's full of hazards, Paris. And that must be why so many people travel on bicycle, because then your feet are safe.
Yeah, and they say it's a romantic city, a city of love, but I don't know. I think that's just people falling over and accidentally kissing,
Yeah, but I suppose, how romantic, someone falls over into your arms And then romance, how did you meet? Oh, well, I really hurt my toe on a massive famous monument and fell into their arms. That's quite a lovely, beautiful story, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of toe stubbing romances. That's how it starts, basically.
Yeah. I suppose the annoying thing would be then the romance would simply start with you going, "No, I need to sit down. My foot hurts," and then that the first bit of conversation would be a bit rubbish, I think.
I think it's a good way to find out whether someone's got potential as a love interest is, can they act as a stool?
Yes. Can they sit? Can they sort of crouch down at the right height for you to put your foot up? Yeah.
Yeah. And are they comfortable with your stinky toes?
Yes. Wow. And that's a big one. That is actually a very big, important one, because if you reveal that toe and they go, "Oh no," I mean, and especially in a place that's famous for cheese, right? If they can't deal with the cheese on your feet, then lots of issues.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's a very common game that they play there actually as well. It's like a thumb war, but it's toes. It's just big toes.
Wow. And is that like what level do people compete at that? Is that like Olympic level, or is it just a sort of a game they play for fun with friends?
It's more fun and local. You know, like how people would sit out on a veranda playing chess. Well, they just do that, but with footstools.
Wow. I mean, I'd love to see that, but also wouldn't love to smell that.
No, not great. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of cheesy feet competing, because that's it. Like, if you can distract them with the smell, you've got more of a chance of getting their toe down in the toe war.
Sure. Yeah, and I suppose the issue, of course, is you become a sort of toe championship, but then before you know it, you've stubbed your toe on the Eiffel Tower, and then you're out as a contender.
Exactly, and you've only got so many toes, haven't you? You can't start moving down to the little ones because,
No. How would you even compete with a little toe? That'd just be impossible, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It'd be so hard. It barely bends. Like, this little piggy went to we know why the end one runs away home, because it can't do anything else.
It's just rubbish. It's so rubbish. I often just wonder why we have them. Really. I suppose it's for I suppose you've got to have something at the end, haven't you, of the toes? But you do sort of think, what's the point of you? Really?
It's decorative. It's like a full stop at the end of a line.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's like this is the end of your... That's right, isn't it? It's like the end of your toes. Toe, end. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Otherwise, we just assume your foot went on forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just never-ending toes, like some kind of keyboard or piano.
Yes. Well, which is, bizarre. A bizarre thought, because where would you find socks that fit in? You guys, I mean, it's a lot to think about. Thank you. I have to say, your noise was amazing, and I really, we haven't had a sound anything like that on the podcast. And I hope, for listeners, I just want to say that was Charlie making that sound. We didn't just transport in a woman from France and then forcibly stub her toe. We wouldn't do that. This is not a cruel podcast. So it was an amazing impression by Charlie. Thank you very much. And of course, the other question I have to ask you is: this is a family-friendly podcast, so it's suitable for every age you can imagine, really. Can you imagine an age?
365.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally suitable for 365-year-olds. It's suitable for every age you can imagine, not 100, long story, but every other age it's suitable for, right? It's not worth me going into. Listeners are very bored of it, but if you are 100, stop. You have to stop listening now. There will be issues. But
cover your ears.
Yeah, just seriously, right? Just they need to stop it. It's actually got quite out of hand. But other ages, it's fine. And so because it's suitable for all other ages, I just have to check, right, just for admin reasons, if there are any rude words you won't be saying.
Well, I am not going to be saying the word fartlek.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Please don't say fartlek. I mean, we would, again, I think we'd probably get arrested, actually, were that said on this show.
It's a terrible word. It's a form of interval training that let's just say is incredibly gassy.
Yes, and also banned in many countries, I believe, fartlek, isn't it? Because just too offensive to the people around.
Yeah, just so upsetting, really. To be honest, I actually feel like I need a shower after saying it.
I was just even thinking about it makes me sick in my own face, and luckily I'm not thinking about it because you're not going to say it, but otherwise I would be sick in my own face because fartlek is such a horrendous word. So
it is horrific. Sometimes I just think, oh god, there's not enough deodorant in the world for a word like fartlek.
No, there isn't. And look, I thank you for not saying fartlek. I won't say fartlek, and that way we know this show is safe from fartlek.
Yeah, no more fartlek from me. You won't hear another peep a fartlek from me. I promise. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. No fartlek here. Right now, look, Charlie, look, you know, you're an expert in so many things, but this question has come in, and I think you're the person that can answer it, right? This is why I've asked you on this show. And this question has been sent from Theo, aged 6. And as I regularly say on the show, he doesn't say 6 what. So it could be 6 minutes. It could be 6 decades. It could be 6 turtles. I don't know, but I'm going to assume 6 years, right? We'll just assume. It's probably incorrect to do that, but we'll just have a guess. And Theo has asked, is a kind of double question, but I'll ask them all at once. Actually, would you like them one at a time, or would you like them all at once, or would you like them in a very silly, high-pitched voice all at once? Like, how would you like it?
I think the silly, high-pitched voice all at once, please.
Okay. How many poops would it take to fill the sea if you drop a poo on the sand? Will the sand turn brown? There you go. How was that?
Oof. Yeah, that was lovely. Actually, I felt it was clearer.
Okay,
it would have been
sure.
Otherwise, yeah.
I just like to give the option because some people have different frequencies that they operate on, and I understand that. So
yeah, but I can hear bunnies and dog whistles. So so there is 2 there, isn't there? So how many poops it would take to fill the sea, and if you drop a poo on the sand, will the sand turn brown? We could do the answers in 2 halves, couldn't we? As a person with IBS, which means irritable bowel syndrome, it means my bowel is very irritating. It's just really annoying. It sort of always comes up with sounds at least, you know, the least inappropriate time.
No,
you know, I'm about to give a speech, and it'll start gurgling and, you know, farting very loudly. You know, like, that's not what you want from a bowel. You know, you want a bowel that knows when to keep quiet, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that is really irritating. You telling me that makes me irritated on your behalf.
Exactly. It's the most irritating bowel. So I am very familiar with what it's like to have poo and poo challenges. I do see this as a bit of a poo challenge. How many poops would it take to the sea? Also, lucky for me, I do live not far from the sea, so I spend a lot of time near the sea looking at it, so I can get a sense of its quantity.
Oh, that's good. I'm really pleased you said you spend a lot of time at the sea looking. I was worried you were going to say you spend a lot of time pooing in the sea. I was worried that you know that's why you knew about it, but I think you're right. You can sort of look at it and understand its size.
I don't poo in the sea. I mean, I've got a poo patch right outside my house. Why would I poo in the sea?
Sure. Well, that does make sense. If you've got a poo patch, you don't need a poo sea. Yeah.
No, exactly. I poo with the bunnies. Little mole digs down, and I just go there.
Totally makes sense.
But how many poops would it take to fill the sea? Now, if you think about the average size of a poo is what? Like, if you think about a Mr. Whippy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like no flake. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's other questions that I have for this person that maybe 6 hours old, or from the 6th dimension. Who knows? They haven't said.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't even consider the 6th dimension. It could be age 6 shoes. I don't know what, but you know, who's to say? And this might be why they've got so many questions about things, because they're so new to the world. 6 seconds old. You know, who knows? What are your other questions? Because I mean, it does say how many poops would it take to fill the sea. They haven't specified what type of poops. They haven't specified which sea or all of the sea. Or I mean, they haven't. It's not the letter C. They've spelled SEA. So, but you know, you're right. There are other questions about it. Yeah.
If it's a human poo, it's probably let's say whippy size. If I've got a little Chihuahua mixed with a Pomeranian, and it's like they're more sort of how could I describe it? It's sort of like a handlebar moustache. Like a handlebar moustache poo.
Right.
if it's bunny pellets, I mean, if it was all these different kinds of poo, I think that you could play a game of Tetris with, especially the sea that we have near here in Kent. You could have like a Mr. Whippy goes down, then a handlebar around it, then some pellets in, you see, and then you can, you know, you're getting more poo per bit of sea, aren't you then?
That's interesting. So that would be sort of, if we were actively trying to fill the sea and you wanted to do it in the kind of most economical way, you could Tetris poo the entire sea. Wow. Yeah,
different types of poo, just
do you think that make it easier or harder to cross? Because I imagine when it's sort of dry on a hot day, it probably will dry out and you could just walk over. But on a wet day, pretty horrid.
Yeah, not easy to scoop up. And that did get me thinking of bird poo, which is obviously more liquidy at the best of times. That's not going to fill the sea. That will just sort of ride atop the surface.
Yeah, that's horrid. Yeah, that wouldn't help it. I mean, I think it's safe to say, were we tasked with the mission of filling the sea with poo, which you never know, it could happen. Especially you're quite important. You know, you may get a call from I know the King of Denmark. Or something. This is now what we have to do. I would suggest, bird poo is not the way to
and
go.
of course they'd come to me. They'd say, Charlie, you as a superhero bunny, your breath stinks of poo. Could you help us? Could you help us fill the sea with poo?
Yeah.
You know, and I'd have to call up all my friends, everyone I know who can poo.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And we'd have to do it, and maybe there'd be a sort of like countdown as we were trying to fill.
Wow. Oh, so you do it, everyone poo at once rather than take it in turns to poo at the right. So you wouldn't, because in the Tetris style, you kind of have to allot times for poo so that different poos went in at different places.
But maybe we do like a mass pooping.
That is very. I mean, if you've ever been to a music festival, that is kind of what happens at music festival tours. It's kind of just a mass pooping, and so perhaps and those fill up pretty quick and smell horrible.
Yes.
And so potentially, you could arrange something. I suppose everyone could line all the coasts of all the countries that they live on.
Yeah.
Then the inland countries people would have to sort of get a move on to the nearest other one and get ready. Yeah, I think
get to the edge, all drop your pants at the same time. It could be a very sort of unifying event. You know, people gather sometimes onto the beach and they all throw starfish back into the sea, don't they, to try and save them? Well, this would just be people flinging turds and poo, you know, instead.
And what a wonder, with the whole world together pooing as one, and that's a beautiful image.
Yeah,
actually.
And like instead of Live Aid, it'd be called like Live Poo.
Live poo, which is beautiful. I think it would bring peace in our times, and or at least poos, if not peas. And it's a lovely, beautiful idea. I mean, I don't want to press you on the actual question, because I think what you've created is something much lovelier, and I mean I'll sign up for it. I'm here. I'm ready. I'll eat things specially, but Theo has asked how many poops would it take before the sea, and I mean what are you reckoning? 4 or more, or a bit more than that?
I would say a bit more than 4. I'd say about 6 million.
Right. Okay, 6 million, but we're assuming average size poos, just 6 million average size poos, probably fill the entire sea, and sort of bear in mind that there are going to be some whales pretty upset about it.
That's going to be a tough swim for them.
Yeah.
I do like the thought of whales maybe getting some protective gear, to try and swim through the poo.
Well, previously has been sort of save the whale campaigns because they've been in danger, but I think it really would be to save the whales from a sea full of poo. It's a slightly different campaign, but it would be.
I like the idea of a whale in goggles, but it'd be tricky to get around the head, wouldn't it?
They'd have to have really big. The bit in the middle of the goggles would have to be huge
because their eyes are at the side.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have like a goggle on each side. But I like almost like they'd need a snorkel. Like you'd have to give fish like snorkeling equipment to get through, so that they could get through all of the poop.
Wow. Yeah, I really feel like fish have a raw deal here, like with this. Fish and whales and dolphins and all of the undersea creatures, sea monsters. I'm trying to think what else is down there. Cthulhu, the sort of mer people. They would have a terrible time. They'd have a terrible time with us. But Theo's not asking. Theo's not saying we have to do it. It's just saying how many. It's a reasonable question.
Yeah, it is tough for mermaids. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that that volume of poo would be good for your hair. It'd be very hard to lure people onto rocks as a siren as well. If you stank of poo, it might be quite difficult.
It's very much like your superhero bro. If they popped up and started singing, everyone's like, what is that? I smell of poo. Oh yeah, it'd be awful. Yeah, it'd be
And sea shanties would have to all be about poo, and that would really, I do love a good sea shanty, but it's nice when they talk about shells and other things, isn't it?
Yes. Do you think pirates would have to become poo-rats?
Poo-rats, yes, definitely.
Poo poises.
What would a poo parrot?
A poo-root.
A poo.
Yeah. I don't. That's it. Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to think what else you'd have. No. My only other thought is porpoises become poo poises, but then that doesn't really help dolphins. They don't. They still be dolphins. So.
Yeah, seals would still be seals. Like walrus.
Yeah. Oh, penguins.
Penguins.
Polar bears. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, poor little polar bears. Well, they definitely would go brown, I think, if we did that to the sea. But I think we've answered that. It's kind of 6 million is my guess.
It's a fantastic answer, and I hope Theo, aged 6 seasons, is very happy with that. Obviously, then the next part of the question is: if you drop a poo on the sand, will the sand turn brown? Curious question.
Well, my dog does poo on the sand quite a lot, so I have seen this one.
Right.
So, is it brown that happens? I would say it's more of a there's like a beiging to the sand that happens. It's more. I'm trying to think of the color. Like, it makes me think of sort of like foundation colors or like the Dulux color chart of stuff.
Oh yes, because people often think, what foundation color would I like? Sort of pooey sand. I'd like to have a pooey sand face.
When you pick pooey sand or warm dog or wet flannel as a color. So
yes.
all of these different makeup shades. But do you have a pet?
I don't. We've got some fish. I wish we had a proper pet. We're not allowed one in our flat.
What happens to their poo What happens to their poo?
Well, yeah, it just sort of so fish just get those very, very long poos that stick to their bum for ages and ages and ages and ages, and then they just drop into the bottom of the tank, and then
and does it float through a castle and do a lap and then?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is the nice. It's where you have to get a castle. So it does a little loop the poo, and then it lands in the gravel, and then you just leave it there, and then you clean the tank a bit later.
But it doesn't change the gravel to a different colour.
No, it makes the water goes a different colour if you don't clean the tank often enough. But the gravel doesn't suddenly all go poo colour. We've currently got pink gravel in our tank, and it stays fluorescent pink.
It stays fluorescent. And what colour is the poo of the fish poo?
It depends. Sometimes it is a sort of a darkish browny black. Sometimes it is a whitey poo. Totally depends. They eat the same food every day, so I don't know what's changed it. But I'm not saying that I study every one of the fish's poos, but sometimes it sticks to their bum for so long you can't help but see it. So.
Well, there you go. And if they're doing laps, you've got plenty of time.
Well, exactly.
To watch the poo situation. I wondered if they might be green. Actually, I would say that it depends on the colour of the poo in terms of what colour the sand turns. But I would say your head turns more at the stench usually.
Sure.
Than the sand itself, and it's really dependent on the what the diet has been of the poo that's landed. I think there is a type of creature that their poos will make the sand a certain colour. I'm trying to think what creature that is.
Well, like, would crabs? I mean, crabs live in the sand, so I assume they poo in the sand. So I suppose there's every chance crab poo makes sand colour sand.
Yeah, it probably does colour the sand, and it's coming out sideways at quite a speed as well, isn't it? So
yeah. It must be so awkward for crabs. Just everything sideways. It's got to be really, really, like escalators. Also, all those sorts of things must be really difficult.
I just think it's hard if you make a connection with someone and then they just like teeter off to the side. It's like very intense.
Yeah, it does seem rude, doesn't it? But they can't help it.
No, they can't. Bless them. But I would say that if you drop a poo, it depends on the type of poo would be my answer. But if it's a normal, average-sized human poo, it won't make it brown. It will cast a small shadow.
Yeah, and it will upset the people sunbathing as well. I think that's point. Worth saying that it will upset the people sunbathing. They won't. If they're lying there having a lovely sunbathe and you poo next to them. It might sand, but they won't like it. Yeah. No, they won't be keen on it, and I don't think it's the colour of the sand that people will be most concerned about. They'll be concerned about the proximity of poo to their head.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Can I just ask, if Theo wanted to, because I don't know if Theo's planning like a big art project. Maybe this is sort of art installation with a sea full of poo and maybe sort of poo brown sand. Is there something better that he could use to colour sand in, like felt tip pen, watercolours?
I think that the one thing that I know that lasts for an eternity that I would suggest all poos could be improved by is glitter.
Ah, yes. Yes. And then glittery beaches would be beautiful. Yeah.
They kind of are glittery in their own way, but often with tiny broken bits of shell and all kinds of things that have washed up on the shore. So you could put some lovely coloured glitter in there. You can get multicoloured kinds now, can't you? All kinds of stuff. So I think put that on your poos and roll it in the sand. That would be mine.
Beautiful. That's magical. And and I hope everyone listening to this we're coming out to summer holidays now. I hope everyone listening to this leaves a little glittery poo in the sand for others to find and enjoy.
I'm going to try it with my dog. I'll glitter poo.
Very good luck with that. Well, listen, Charlie, thank you so much. I hope Theo, aged sort of 6 geckos, is very happy with that. I mean, I certainly am, and I'm so pleased that you could come on the show and talk to us about it. Have you got a busy sort of clothes horse training week ahead, or are you up to something else?
I'm throwing about 6 clothes horses a week at the moment. And then, I've just got to try and work on, cleaning my mouth ahead of, planning to be a superhero. It's going to, I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can before my breath really stinks.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to us a bit before. I mean, I know that we're sort of talking online, but still, I worry it would sort of fog up
definitely.
The microphone. Yeah,
it definitely would. And just Theo, thanks so much for your lovely questions. Just maybe keep the poo, just keep washing your hands, Theo.
Very wise words. Thank you, Charlie.
Fell off. What do you mean it didn't fall off?
Thank you, Charlie, for that very comprehensive answer on all aspects of poos, the sea and beaches, something that feels very timely for many of us in England right now. And I do hope that we can get her back on the show with updates on the rabbit bus service very, very soon. Theo, I hope you're pleased with the answers to your questions, but if not, do feel free to write them on a large potato chip in an area full of seagulls so they steal it and I never ever have to read them. Thanks. If you'd like to send in a question you need answered on this show, or you want to send in your impression of a saxophone or a toddler tantrum to win a game of uproar, or, you just want to send in anything you like, then please get your impossible guff wafters, grown-ups, to help you email me right here at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. Do also grab tickets to Radio Nonsense Live at the South Bank Centre in London on October the 26th, which you can do at southbankcentre.co.uk or in the link in the podcast blurb. Oh, I really love the word blurb. It just sounds a bit like a burp, doesn't it? Blurb. Blurb. Podcast blurb. And come and see our live Comedy Club for Kids shows at comedyclubforkids.co.uk and grab our t-shirts and book at comedyclubforkids.store. Blurb. There's loads of stuff. Just do all of it all at once. And as you heard, I did manage to fall in for a second time then, thanks to a series of pulleys and ropes I'd sort of rigged up to get me to the top of CC4K HQ, and then I just sort of fell off it straight into the podcast. And I have to say, it was a much better than attempt number 1. I quite enjoyed it, really. So I'm thinking maybe I just have to get even higher to make falling into the podcast work really well, to make it really good. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to get our official Comedy Club for Kids space shuttle and give that a bit of a go. So just 1 minute.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, here we go. Oh, no, I've aimed it wrong, and I'm going to miss the podcast and land on the... Oh dear. Right, see you next week. I think I'll just start the podcast as normal, I reckon. Stop it. You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.